Hello. Welcome back to the Empire Summit. I hope that you are enjoying all of these juicy, delicious talks. They are so inspiring, so empowering, but most importantly, so relatable. Relatable because we're all humans. It doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. Behind it all, we are all experiencing exactly the same thoughts, feelings, and emotions. There is no one that is exempt from fear, from doubt, from worry, from those niggling what ifs. The only difference is how much we share of it, how much we show of it, and how we lead ourselves through it. And we are about to find out exactly how Jocelyn leads herself through hers. So introducing our next speaker, we have Jocelyn Vance. Now, Jocelyn is a certified NLP practitioner. She's a timeline therapist, hypnotherapist, master certified life and success coach. She has got all the things going on. She has built 3 multi-six-figure businesses in 3 different niches on 3 different platforms. She is now bringing all of her expertise to the table, along with her highly intuitive gifts as an intuitive business and identity coach. She is speaking to my soul right now. The Conscious Woman brand works with purpose-driven visionaries and soul-led entrepreneurs to be more empowered lovers and leaders in your life, business, and relationship, becoming a magnet to intimacy, income, and impact your soul knows you are meant for. Wow, what an entrance. Jocelyn, please take it away.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me. This is such a blessing, and it's so aligned with my journey. When you asked me to be on this, I was like, oh my God, like this couldn't be more aligned. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm glad to show up and share my story. So without further ado, I am going to take you on a little ride of what I would say chaos to consciousness, back to chaos, back to consciousness, and moving from there forward. I can't believe that now I get to sit here and say that I can live in true peace and fulfillment and actually live present in my life. One that I'm so empowered by, and one that truly is anchored in authentic light leadership, one that I feel like I have deep impact with soulmate clients, deep intimacy in a soulmate partnership, but not because I'm perfect and not because it's all looked perfect. There's actually been some deep struggle because every day has a new way of looking at things. Every day gives us an opportunity, and I have had to consciously lead myself in moments when my old identity wants to sneak back in moments when life gives us lessons, and knowing that I came from a glorious background to then going through it and then coming back out of it. My life in love and light leadership has been nothing short of a roller coaster ride, for lack of better words. The past decade, the journey has been becoming of the full embodiment of my brand, The Conscious Woman. It's been filled with identity shift after identity shift and healing through so many layers of myself, so many layers of programming and patterns and habits and subconscious and unconscious identities that have me here awakened, knowing that I'm still on the journey. So I'm going to go back kind of to like a core moment that I feel like was like the first initiation of an identity shift as an adult. And I would say it was one of the most difficult times in my adult life, still to this day. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the feeling of a 10-year relationship with my college sweetheart, the biological father of my first child. I remember feeling my heart shatter as the back door slammed and we were going through a divorce, and he had just packed all of his stuff in a U-Haul. I remember laying on the bathroom floor, barely able to breathe. I remember the thoughts flooding into my mind of how in the actual hell am I going to raise a 2-year-old daughter all by myself, specifically as a single woman on a teacher's income. At the time, I was a middle school teacher, and we didn't make a lot of money. Let's be real. Teachers don't make a lot of money. Shout out to the teachers. But I was drowning in debt. And actually, as I was going through the divorce, I found out I had a lot more debt that was not mine, debt that had been taken out in my name without my knowing. And I was feeling like I don't know where to go from here. I was also feeling very purposeless in my job. I showed up every day. I was a great teacher, But the structure of the public school system felt confining and debilitating at times. The very next week, I walked into therapy for the first time. Have you ever had that moment when you see it in the movies where like someone's mouth is moving very slowly, but the words coming out of their mouth just sound like, whoa? This was that moment for me. I was just staring at her. Her mouth was moving. The words were coming out of her mouth, but I couldn't grasp what she was saying to me when she looked me in the eyes and said, "Do you realize that you've been a victim of narcissistic mental and emotional abuse for the last 10 years? And I was like, I gripped the couch. I remember it was like velvet, and I could feel the sweat of my palms like drenching that couch. I was shook, I was numb, and I was absolutely clueless to what that actually truly meant. But it sent me down a 2-year journey, one of awakening to deep unconscious and subconscious wounds, to leading me to finding my first life coach and doing a lot of personal healing of my overgiving, of my self-abandonment, of my not worthy wounds, of my empathic ways, of me needing to be a fixer, needing control, and having tons of like perfectionism mechanisms that I needed to basically make partners my purpose and my projects, in fact. And as I was sitting in that life coaching room, I had this like jolt of like energy where I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I'm meant to do with my life. And 2 years later, my life looked completely different. I dove in. I got my life coach certification. I knew this was my true passion and purpose. And I started my first business shortly after that. It just came across my field. But I started my first business in health and wellness. I had a master's degree in nutrition education. And it felt like the next step in coaching women through their health journey and their life journey. It was through network marketing. And I did it on the side of teaching every day. I would hustle. I would grind. I was lit on fire with purpose for the first time in my entire life. I had a taste of what it felt like to run my own business, impact people's lives at a totally different level than I'd been able to do in the middle school classroom. I got to a place where I felt super whole within myself. And then I met a man, and I had done so much healing work. I was actually scared. I was scared, is this going to be same? Am I going to get duped? Am I conscious enough to see red flags? But I felt an instant soul connection. And I quickly considered him to be home. He became home for me in so many ways. And over the next 2 years, we were riding high on life. We were winning. We were having amazing sex every day. We were like on it. We were in the best shape of our lives. We were traveling. We were living high on new love. We were building massive success and business to the point where I started raking in 3 times my teaching income. And I was like, what is this life? I was debt free, and we were raising 3 amazing kids together and just crushing it. I was speaking on stages. I was winning tons of awards, and I was leading a team that got ranked 154 out of 450,000. And I was recognized on stages. It was just like, I'll never forget that summer day that I walked into my principal's office and handed him my resignation to be a full-time entrepreneur, firing my 7 to 4 boss 20 years early. Man, that was a high. Almost everyone around me thought I was absolutely batshit crazy. They're like, how are you going to do this? Like, how are you going to leave your teaching career, your salary? How are you going to leave your retirement from the Board of Education? This isn't going to work. This is a short-term plan. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm doing it. And I was so lit up. By the time August hit, all the teachers were going back to school, and I was spending the week in Nashville, walking across stage, receiving one of the highest awards, and by night saying yes to a wedding proposal off the Nashville Bridge. Over 10,000 people watching on Facebook Live. I couldn't even comprehend what was going on, but I was lit. And 3 months later, we said, you know what? Screw it. We're going to get married now. And we married overlooking the Georgia mountains. I remember standing there in my wedding dress, and it was this moment, and I saw these leaves falling, and I was like, I've made it. I've arrived. Like life doesn't get much better than this. I'm like in magical fairy tale land. What I didn't expect was all that would happen in the year to come after that. And the nosedive that my life, my business, and my relationship would take that brought me to my knees on the bathroom floor again. Someone call it a quantum crumble. The self-sabotage, the fears, the upper limits, the programming, the stories, everyone doubting me. They were true, continuously running through the course of my mind. I remember thinking to myself, I'm a failure. Like focusing on lack, the shift in identity, going from employee and, deeply ingrained employee mindset to entrepreneur. I didn't even know who the heck I was. Moving from purpose-led and passion and all the things to complete perfectionism, playing small, operating from protective mechanisms that kept me debilitated, taking on every single voice that ever doubted me and making it real, that I was irresponsible, that I would have never made it work, that it was a short-term pipe dream. I lost my business. I started having major health issues. I gained 60 pounds. And by 2018, I was mere moments away from going through a second divorce. I'll never forget the feeling of being in that same place again, the pit of hell, the bottom of the barrel, and throwing up in a toilet the second I kicked my husband out of the house. How was I here again? I had done all the work. I thought I finally had made it. What was wrong with me? I hired my next life coach. This time, I went a little bit different route. She wasn't necessarily a purpose coach. She was more of an identity coach in the realms of relating. The investment in of itself made me want to throw up. I put it on a credit card because at this point I had no business. I had no money. And I remember shaking, so nervous, because I was like, what am I doing? It's like every voice in my head is like, you're irresponsible. You're a piece of shit. But every part of my intuition and soul knew was exactly what I needed to do. And I was called to something higher than myself in that moment. My husband also had a very dark night of the soul, sleeping in his car in the Kroger parking lot. That night I kicked him out. He stayed up all night. Call it spirit, call it God, call it whatever. Something hit his soul and he went to work on himself. He got into men's groups. He hired a coach. He started doing work on the deep layers of the wounds that both we had shown up to and we hadn't actually healed through, because he also went through a divorce before we met as well. We aren't taught this stuff. And we went through several layers of working through our wounded masculine and feminine energies, our triggers, how we communicate. And we awakened to even more layers of growth that we both deeply needed to come back to who we truly are. Man, the long days, the long nights of forgiveness, of coming back to love at the core. And it took a lot. It took a lot of pulling from the bottoms to create an unconditional love for someone that had hurt you so badly, but at the same time, you could see yourself in it. And it was like a mirror. So we, did a lot of coaching together as well. And we took it a step further. And I went first and I went and got certified in NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and life and success coaching. And then he quickly followed and got the same certifications. And we began our journey again. I was like, I'm gonna show up again. I feel scared. I don't know if I can be success. I don't know if I can be the epitome of success. I don't even know what that looks like at this point. I feel like I've had it, and then I feel like I lost it, and then I feel like I've had it, and I don't even know what it looks like at this point. But we launched our individual brands, the Conscious Woman and the Conscious Man, and we built success very quickly. And in 2020, when the entire world shut down and we were home in our little, little space here together 24/7, started to realize that our relationship was stronger than ever. And we had gone through and grown through so much. We started just naturally showing up together. We were here every day together. We just started showing up together. And we added an addition to our brand, and we launched the Conscious Couple. Now is on top of the world. I had the soulmate relationship. We'd done all the work, and now we were running a multi-six-figure umbrella brand, impacting hundreds with our teachings and coaching, running programs, doing 2-on-2 coaching, 2-on-1 coaching, and 1-on-1 coaching. And I felt like, man, This is it. Like, I feel like now I had to go through all this, and now I get to really like enjoy this space. I was getting invited to speak on stages again. We taught in multiple different places, individually and together. We launched our podcast, and we were growing our influence. Yet it was something still that didn't feel right. Why wasn't I like the happiest I could possibly be in this moment? I often wondered. Why wasn't I on top of the world? Why was stress still my main emotion? Why was it still not good enough? I was hustling hard. We were building. I remember the day I looked at my husband and said, I don't even want to show up to my one-on-one calls right now. I do not want to show up on social media. I'm overwhelmed. I'm burnt out. And shortly after that moment, I started having debilitating physical and mental health issues that paralyzed me, truly, for 6 months. I was barely able to function, panic attacks, insomnia, extreme gut and health issues, brain fog, body aches, completely disconnected from myself. I burnt my entire business to the ground again. This sent me on a journey that led to the greatest shift in my entire life. It radically changed everything because I had mastered the mind. I had mastered consciousness. I had mastered the external with money and connection. I had the ideal situation. I had the ideal man who treated me like gold. I had the conscious man who led our home. I had the business that was giving me freedom of time and money. What I had not mastered was the true connection to my soul and my spirit and my body. I went on a spiritual journey and a healing of my nervous system that brought me back to remembrance of who I truly am as a conscious being. Cleared all the noise. I was in like a cocoon, a true space that allowed my intuition to really start thriving, my creativity to come on board. And I allowed myself to see myself beyond my ego. Man, what a hard place to be, to look in that mirror. But what came of it is I birthed the magic and medicine that truly transformed everything and gave so much more power to my brand, The Conscious Woman. Because it's not just about consciousness of the mind. It's not just about elevating consciousness as a soul. It was also about my body and how I'd been bypassing it for quite some time and bringing consciousness to who I was as a whole, human, mind, body, and soul. I now run a successful and thriving, purpose-driven, heart-led business and work with soulmate clients. I wake up every day next to my soulmate, and I know that no matter what, our connection, like our connection at a soul level and a human level, is at the highest priority of everything. I wake up feeling adored. I wake up feeling at peace. I wake up feeling blessed. And standing here today, I have not arrived. In fact, I will never arrive. I will never arrive to some magical fairy tale land where life gets to be all butterflies and rainbows, where I'm done learning, when I'm done growing, when I'm done evolving. And no matter what I go through, I know that no matter what, it's never happening to me, but always for me. Because in this life, what I have deeply found is that we do not get ultimately what we always want. We get what we're meant to grow. We get the lessons we're meant to learn, and that never ends. And there's no destination that I'm going to arrive to one day where I feel like I'm perfect and everything's perfect, but I'm done chasing. I'm not going to arrive somewhere where at one day I'm going to feel like it's all come together. But I get to lead myself consciously. I get to lead myself courageously. And I get to be extremely confident to know that all the juiciness of life, the dichotomy of pain and pleasure, the dichotomy of valleys and being a victor, it all is exactly what my spirit needs. And that success is not external, it's internal. And that my soul is my success, and the ascension that I will continue to grow on, and how I lead myself and how I approach everything in my life ultimately creates success for me. Nothing outside of me can deem that. And I could never dream on a vision board all that's going to come, or all that I've achieved, or all that I've experienced. And I could never imagine or envision what all I have left to do, what all is going to come. But what I know standing here today is that I will be at peace and I will be fulfilled because I am consciously the creator of my life, and that no matter what, I can confidently lead myself and I get to choose how I approach every day. So I invite anyone listening to this today to stop utilizing your time on this planet to chase anything, to chase something outside of yourself, to chase something that's missing, and really anchor into every moment as a moment that's given to you to experience joy, gratitude, growth, evolution, and to anchor in every way that you are abundant right now, and it doesn't get to go away. You got a lifetime to experience it.
Oh my gosh, Jocelyn, you said it was going to be a roller coaster, and it was. Wow. You guys watching, are you feeling that as well? I mean, what so many takeaways from that, but what an incredible story of just rebirth and resilience, and also of remembrance, like remembering your soul is who you came here as. And I love what you said at the end, your soul is your success. So beautiful, and something that I'm sure we can all take away and sleep on and seep into, because we hear so often, don't give away your power, and external should not be your internal, and we hear it, but do we always really integrate it and actually believe it at a cellular level? Jocelyn, I would love to, let's dive into a few parts of your journey, because this is just so incredible. And I'm like, okay, where do we even want to go? Like, where should we take it?
I told you it was going to be a roller coaster ride, baby.
I love it so much. I think what I want to ask you first is about rebirth, because I think it's something that as entrepreneurs we all experience at some point or another. And for you guys watching, if you haven't yet, I am sure it will be coming at some point, because I don't think that we can go through life without that rebirth and that resurgence into that next level. So if someone's watching and maybe they're fearing it, maybe they're like, I don't want to lose everything, I don't think I could handle that, I don't know what I would do, what would be not your advice to them, but what would you have to say to them?
A lot of the work I do is identity shifting. And so even if you don't lose everything, on some levels, to rise, to get to a new level, to become a new version of yourself, a lot of the old has to die, essentially. It has to go away. It has to fall away. And that can feel very scary, because our brain wants to go, wait, like this is who we are, like grasp on. And the comfort zone is where we feel safe and secure. And one of the deepest things that I had to do is realize that being courageous and going out of the comfort zone, I could really have the fear, almost like I say, like the fear is in the passenger seat, not the driver's seat, right? So I know it's always going to be there. The fears of loss, the fears of shifts, the fears of catapulting to a new level. There's always regulation that has to happen, but fear is always going to be there. And I'm the driver though. And I get to thank fear for trying to protect me. But I'm like, we're going this way, baby. I'm not available to stay in this space. So it's like being courageous and knowing that no matter what, everything is happening for you. And when you can trust that, and you can really do some of the work to catapult the way of your brain wants to keep you the same, you realize and can anchor in that your life is always going to be an identity shift, unless you want to stay the same the rest of your life, which we don't do, and our soul isn't available for. It's always going to be here. So why not buckle up, buttercup? Like, fear's in the passenger seat, like we're going, and I'm in the driver's seat. The soul's on the mission. And the more that I can really anchor into that knowing, I recently lost several friends in this new identity shift, right? And it's like, it hurts, but at the same time, it's like, look what all's coming in.
Yeah.
Like, some people are here. Yeah. It's like certain things are seasons and certain things are long term. But if you're the lighthouse, I always say this to all my clients in my coaching, when you're the lighthouse instead of the boat navigator, then you are continuously leading yourself, and people will rise, people will be activated by you, and the people that are meant for you will continue on the journey. The people that are not will be out here maybe fighting the waves and like getting their boat and like, but it's not your job to go save them. It's not your job to go navigate them. It's not your job to enable them. It's your job to be the lighthouse. And when you can lead yourself like that over and over again, everything that comes to you is for you and will always be okay and will always rise. You will always be served at the highest levels. And in that, you can trust that your soul's got it, and everything that you're going to achieve, everything you're going to get is what you're meant to, and the impact and influence you have in the process is why you're here.
Oh my gosh, just like you just gave us a whole nother load. We're like, oh, this is incredible. Jocelyn, I want to ask you one thing that is coming up for me, so I'm sure it's probably coming up for you guys as well. Okay, you talked about how you had to really go on this journey of regulating your nervous system and being able to step into that new expansion. If someone is watching and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? And like, maybe we know EFT, maybe we know tapping, we know probably a little bit of breath work, meditation, the buzzwords that are around a lot. But if we take that down a layer and we go a little bit deeper, what would be your advice to someone if they're like, okay, I'm maybe tapping, I'm doing something, but nothing's really shifting. What would be your advice to that person?
So I think it's a dual thing. So I think it's one, getting yourself in the game, getting yourself in the doing, because sometimes we want to wait until we have all the evidence or that we have the safety or that we have the security. But a lot of that can be found in just being courageous and doing the thing. It's like more of doing the thing is what's going to expand you to be more confident in doing the thing. I always say confidence is created. It's not something that just magically comes down on us. It's doing something over, failing forward. And in that, you expand your nervous system's capacity because you realize, okay, I didn't die. Like I did the thing, but I didn't die. I'm alive. I survived that. And in that, your nervous system will expand. Now, obviously, I also do, somatics and breath work and all the support tools that I think are extremely important as you're regulating yourself, because some of this nervous system stuff can send you into like me, it sent me into a large, deep space of needing some of that support, but allowing yourself to paint out the lines a little bit, knowing that your nervous system will expand as you continue to stretch yourself, and your energy will expand the more that you tell your brain through evidence, of doing the thing that we're safe, we're okay. And then you're like, okay, now I can edge a little more. And then the more that you do, the more you expand. And I think one of the key things that I always say too is we look at, maybe being on floor 1 or 2, but we want to be at the penthouse. And a lot of times we want to fly there. And we don't necessarily get to the penthouse without going through all the other floors to get there. You can't just like go from the floor to the penthouse. It's like we have to experience and expand and get the lessons and become the person who's a frequency match to be able to be in the penthouse. And it's a beautiful journey. We can have a vision of what we want, but we're going to get what we need to grow and expand to become the person that has the penthouse. And that's some of the core work that I do.
Yeah. I love it. I love it so much. Okay, Jocelyn, I have one more question for you before we send everyone into your incredible world. So being part of in the Raw movement, I know you're a very seasoned speaker. You've been around in business for a long time. This is obviously a very different way of doing things, and especially in speaking, and how we're showing a lot more vulnerability, a lot more relatability. We're really peeling back those layers and getting deeper with our connection with the audience. But I want to ask you, how has that felt for you, one, as a speaker, and doing it differently to obviously how we're trained as speakers to show up on stage, but also at just a human level, being part of the movement that we are creating in the world here as well?
As what I call a perfectionist, like basically healing from perfectionism to a large degree, like I'm an old perfectionist. I feel like one of the greatest things we can do is come into our authenticity and our vulnerability. And for the longest time, I felt like that was weakness. And for the longest time, I felt like that made me not good enough. And when we can come into a space and show up completely real and raw and be vulnerable and really stand in our authentic truth, that creates a whole new level of connection. And it's not just speaking, although this is a massive movement that you got here that's special, but it's also in our relationships in every single space that we go into. And one of the deepest things that I've learned in coaching several people in their relationship, one of the best ways to connection is to truly let that guard down and allow yourself to be seen, because that's when you can, one, connect, but two, truly feel seen and loved, which is what we all want, right? We want to feel seen and loved, but we go out into the world and try and paint a picture to be liked and chosen, when in reality, your brain knows, your soul knows, if you're not being authentic and real, then the people that are liking you, the people that are cheering you on, they're cheering on a fake version of yourself to some degree, a polished version of yourself. So to feel truly seen, loved, and adored and chosen, which is what we all want, this is the only way. It's the only way to do it. And so I'm extremely proud to be a part of this, because it's definitely in alignment completely with who I am and what I believe in, and the thread of my coaching. So thank you so much for your movement, for what you're doing. It's such a pleasure to be a part of and to see. And I know it's going places.
Thank you. And that really is the heart of Real and Raw. Exactly what Jocelyn said there. Building those relationships. And obviously, the way that Jocelyn does it, you can do that in your personal relationships. But if you take that and you think, this is what I get to do in the way that I show up, in the way that I create, and the way that I get to express myself to my world and my clients and my community, you're building those relationships there as well. So that's so beautiful. Jocelyn, please share with everyone how they can come and get into your incredible world and what that looks like, and where are all the best places to come and find you.
Well, I'm building on IG for the first time in all my business adventures. So I'm on IG at the_conscious.woman. I'm also on TikTok for the same, the.conscious.woman. And then me and my husband, who's the.conscious.man on all the platforms. We have a podcast called the Advance Your Life Podcast. We have like 42 episodes. We haven't like really poured in there, but we're about to ramp it up and rebrand it. And so that'll be a really great place to consume, binge some things. And then also it's going to be amped up here. So that would be a great place as well. But you can find me there. And then I'm Jocelyn Napier Vance on Facebook.
Amazing. And all of those links will be below. So if you're listening on the go, don't go now. Come and head back and go and get in Jocelyn's world. They're going to be below in the show notes. Jocelyn, thank you so much for joining us in this incredible summit. Thank you for sharing such a beautiful, powerful, transformative story that we can all just take so much away from. It really was like a masterclass in its whole entirety. And you guys watching, you can head right to your next talk right now, because this whole summit is on demand at your fingertips, and you get to watch it at your leisure, whether you're sat in your sofa, whether you're in your bath, wherever you are. Go to the next talk now, and remember to let us know how these talks are landing, how they're resonating, what they're making you feel. Maybe they're triggering you. What are they bringing up for you? We want to know, because that's why we're here. That's why we do what we do, because we want to help you on the journey. Go and hit Jocelyn up in her DMs, hit me up in my DMs at Claire Garner Official, and I cannot wait to see you in the next talk. Bye for now.
Thank you.